I think what solidified my why was actually when I was studying financial planning. I mean, in the second year is when you kind of learn the financial planning principles. And I think that solidified why wealth management and why it's so important when you get to see the impact those principles could have, in people's lives and how by just applying that. So that solidified it. And then definitely working within financial planning and within wealth management and being able to, overlay those principles to each client's personal perspective and just seeing the impact that that has on their financial plan. So that's definitely my why.
And I mean, what made you get into financial planning? Studying financial planning in the first place. What attracted you to that?
I was always interested in investments. And then when I saw the opportunity to study financial planning, I was just like, well, that's close enough. So the first year was kind of very broad and general, where you kind of do stats and everything else. And then the second year was when you really drill down into it. So the second year, it was like, okay, no, I don't need to go into something that's more, into investments or asset management, but financial planning actually spoke more to what I wanted. So I think I didn't know what exactly I wanted. I knew that investments and finance was it. And then when I learned about financial planning, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is exactly what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Oh no, that's actually it's quite amazing being able to find that while you're studying. I just remember I've always loved numbers,
Mm.
simply because they tell these amazing stories, but they don't expect anything from me.
Yeah.
But instead of going to study maths, I don't think it just felt way too intimidating.
Mm.
I did an honors degree in investment management and then used wealth management as a stepping stone into what I believed was the serious stuff, being asset management. And until I started realizing how amazingly energizing it is to really solve financial problems for human beings.
Mm.
Because I mean, I was never exposed to the financial planning process during my studies. It was literally just more the asset management, the pure investment management side. So it was a bit of an eye opener to me. And then also seeing clients as vulnerabilities, and how they totally, completely trust me. I just realized this is where I need to make a difference in life.
It does. It has that math side of it as well as that personal human touch to it. I think it's the combination of the two that then kind of makes sense. Definitely a different perspective. I think it's more comforting for a woman to speak to another woman sometimes and to kind of have that commonality, but also just to bring in another perspective as well as a woman's perspective to financial planning. I think having more conversations from a woman's side, not them just being a client, but also, understanding being a woman and also being a financial planner and incorporating that into the conversations that we have around financial planning, I think is quite powerful. I mean, there was a tweet that I read a little while ago, and it was just kind of speaking about how women sometimes end up taking most of the burden in child caring. And should the partner then contribute on their behalf because they've then taken the burden, such as school lunches and all those small things that you don't pay attention to. And I think that perspective, you don't really think about it, but then when you do, you're like, oh, okay, it does make sense. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I also believe, women bring an element of compassion and empathy to the conversation that's not only relevant for other women or potential women as clients, but also for male clients. I remember when I first started out, I felt quite overwhelmed in a conversation with male clients, until I realized that they actually appreciate the slightly more compassionate approach that I believe women brings to the table. And I think it's very important for us as women not to simply replicate our male colleagues' approach. We have to remain authentic to
Yeah.
who we are, and I mean what we bring, our uniqueness that we
Yeah.
bring to the
Yeah.
table, to the conversation.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
definitely harvesting on that and understanding that what you're bringing might not be what's on the table, but it also adds value.
And then we also need to understand that we work with human beings who have their own preferences or preconceived ideas. And I think just having a different skills, different personalities, between males and females, it just kind of solidifies the options that clients also have in terms of a trusted advisor.
Ooh, I think you'd be better at that advice, because I was fortunate enough to be in your mentorship. So so I was fortunate enough to have you there as a woman and in a position of leadership and in wealth management to kind of and learn from, sorry, and get advice from. So I think, from you, what I've kind of gotten is just being able to be authentic and trusting in myself and in what I have to bring. But I think you'd be able to answer that a bit better.
Wow. Okay. I'm so glad to hear that some of the conversations that I have has had a positive impact. It's worthwhile. Thanks. But I mean, I actually think that that going into the wealth management field for a woman, especially if you're passionate about both investments and human beings, this is the area where women can excel. The flexibility that the job also brings, I believe, is ideal for women. If I just think of many of our female colleagues who have had the benefit of flexible working hours, so they could pay attention to raising their children when their children really needed them to be around, but they still remain part of the professional environment, so they don't need to necessarily leave it completely.
Yeah.
So I think that's really a big positive for women. But I mean, it's a tough environment, as you probably you've realized, and it's not necessarily because our job is that difficult. It's just because we are so close to our clients' emotions all the time, and I think as women, we typically want to solve other people's problems for them. And it's a huge lesson to learn, or an important lesson to learn, to distinguish between where our professional responsibility lies and where our clients need to take responsibility for their financial activities prior and right through their engagement with us. But yeah, I mean, it's really humbling to see how dependent other people become on us.
Yeah.
The guidance that we give, and I've just always said that we have to respect that. I mean, what our clients entrust.
Yeah.
To us.
Yeah, I think it's always a good reminder to think about how much trust they do really put in us to be able to, you know, seek advice as well as to take the advice that we do give them and apply it to their finances. It's quite a privilege
Oh, yeah.
to be able to have that.
Absolutely. And then also to basically own the fact that we are professionals.
Yeah.
We should not underestimate the power of a woman in this profession, our professional power as well. And I think you will you will remember that I regularly also say, I mean, that as women, our compassion and our ability to truly listen does make a difference. As I always say, remember, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yes. I think, like I was saying before, you know, I was quite fortunate enough to have you as a mentor and for somebody that I'm able to talk to regularly, just to be able to not try to conform to maybe the male-dominated space, but to keep that authenticity and that feminine touch and that nature of caring still within the space, and not try to kind of fit within a circle when I'm a square, to kind of be like, well, this is how it's done, this is how I need to be able to do it. So I think it's nice to kind of have that, to kind of let you know that you can kind of still go along as who you are within that space and still be able to take up space in that environment. So yeah. And for you?
Well, I mean, I feel humbled. And no, I do appreciate it that that you enjoy the guidance that that I try to bring into our conversations. But I also think, I mean, mentorship is so crucial in all aspects of life. And having both male and female mentors is important. But I think, well, you might agree with me that men do come across as being a bit intimidating sometimes. I don't know if it's just their physical stature, their deep voices. I mean, it does come across as a bit intimidating. So, I mean, apart from women being more softly spoken, slightly smaller in size, once again, I think there's compassion and an emotional connection that we bring to the table. And I'm not saying that men don't do that. I just think that women are more open and prepared to share emotionally than males traditionally are.
Yeah, I think because mentorship necessarily isn't just, you know, teaching somebody how to do something, but also kind of molding them along the way. So that's why I say, like, it's nice to not have to feel like you need to fit within something and be like, well, this is what it is, but to kind of be like, oh, okay, well, I can kind of be more round if I want to be more round. I don't need to be that square. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. And then I also believe that I mean, we naturally, as human beings, we naturally respond to those who best represent who we aspire to be. So we need to, we need to choose our mentors carefully. Well,
definitely.
Well, I think having a female mentor is an absolute privilege. Being a female mentor is a privilege as well. And I mean, just making a difference in people's lives, whether it is from a client perspective, from a professional perspective as colleagues. I think that is, to me, that's kind of the purpose of life, is to make a difference, to
Yeah,
make it a little bit better and easier.
To leave a footprint in people's lives as you kind of go along.
That's it. And wealth management, to my mind, is the ideal place to do that while still getting that adrenaline rush from what the markets are doing.
Definitely so. Yeah, definitely agree there.